Hi, everybody. I hope you're having a good week. I'm really excited about this little discussion because I love weather and I love snow. I love sleet. I even like freezing rain. Um, and before I moved to North Carolina, I had no idea what about these kinds of weather because we didn't have these in California. And then it was kind of a mystery when we got one and when we got the other. We'd look at these weather forecasts and we know in North Carolina here, we're always, see, we live around here, we're always hoping for that snow, but maybe we'll get sleet, maybe we'll get freezing rain, or maybe it's just going to rain. But this discussion is going to explain why we get these and why they're always in these bands and they're always in this order. It has to do with air masses. And it has to do with making clouds and adiabatic heating, cooling. So you had to learn all those things we've already learned. So about air masses, in the wintertime, there's a couple air masses that we'll often have, and they'll meet. So what kind of air mass would come up from the Gulf of Mexico? Well, it's over the water, so it's going to be wet or moist, and it's from the south, so it's warm. So we have warm, moist air coming up from the bottom, from the south. And then we have this air from Canada. Well, that's going to be cold because it's coming from the north. And it's going to be dry because it's coming from the overland. Well, what's going to happen here where they meet? Whenever you have air masses that meet, you usually get weather. So let's see what happens. So here we have our two air masses, and they're going to collide. They can't just mix together because they're different densities, and so they're going to push each other around. So I made this little graphic. It took about an hour, so I hope you enjoy it. This is warm, moist air. This is the wet air coming from the Gulf of Mexico, and it's going this way. And we're going to have some cold, dry air moving in from the right. So let's see what happens. Here comes the cold, dry air. Let's notice what happens. So it just didn't push it away, it pushed it up. And that is because cold air is more dense. So it's on the bottom and it pushes, and so it's kind of slides under the warm air, pushing the warm air up. So let's go back, take a look at that again. Right? It comes in and just pushes that warm, moist air up. Well, what happens when air moves up? That we learned a couple times ago. Whenever air moves up, you get clouds. So you're going to get weather right here. Now, the idea, though, is that because you have this triangle here, this wedge of warm air, so here you have really cold air down here. This is below freezing, and here you have warm air above it. That's going to create all those kinds of weird weather. So get this. This is your notes N. If you don't have your notebook, you can just draw this picture. But this is that wedge. Now this is opposite than we just saw. So we have the warm, moist air coming from the right, and we have freezing air pushing underneath it over here. All right, and then we have our clouds being made. So this yellow shows that air is warm, right? And then this blue shows that this air is really cold. So we're going to draw right on this. So let me move my picture down here. Okay, so first, when these clouds get formed, this is really far up here, and it's high. So, and it's winter, so it's cold. So they don't form water droplets, they form ice droplets. So all along the top there, ice droplets then become snow. So those are snow clouds. Those clouds, when you look at them, are made of little tiny droplets of ice, and they're going to collect, and they don't collect as raindrops, they collect as snow. And over here on the right, on the left side of the drawing, it's cold all the way down. So it just stays snow all the way down. It never melts. There's no warm air anywhere close. So that's where you get the snow. The snow falls all the way to the ground. But what about right here, the second column, right? So here we starts as snow, but the first thing it does is it hits this bit of warm air, a little bit of that wedge. So it's going to melt. So it had snow, and now it melted. But now what happens? Now it's going through this cold air again. Well, it's going through enough cold air where those water droplets are actually going to freeze into sleet. So now they're frozen water droplets. So it refreezes on the way down. So it started to snow, changed to rain, and now it's frozen rain. When it hits the ground, it falls as ice, and that is called sleet. That's different than hail. Hail we're going to have to explain at another time. What about over here? So this starts as snow, right? But it melts, and it keeps, it stays melted. It doesn't get cold enough to refreeze on the way down. But soon as it hits the ground, it's going to freeze when it hits the ground. And it's going to make a big layer of ice. And that is what you call freezing rain. That's the most dangerous kind of weather. So the whole time it's falling through warm-ish air, so it stays rain. But there's that little bit of a wedge of freezing air down here at the bottom. And so when it hits the ground, it freezes whatever it sticks to. And over here, the snow melts, and it just stays. Whoops, I gotta move myself here. It melts, and then it never refreezes. So that's going to be rain. So you notice along this wedge, this is why you have that combination of snow. If you're there on the wedge, if you're a little bit further this way on the wedge, usually south, maybe you get some sleet. If you're just at the very tip of the wedge right here, there's a little sliver of freezing rain. And then if you're all the way to this side of the wedge, you just get rain. So that explains these two fronts moving, this cold front coming down and this moist front moving up, and you get these bands of weather. I think it's pretty interesting. So next time this happens, you'll know all about it. So that's the last video for the week. The only thing left to do is to take a quiz. So this quiz is going to be open note. So you can go ahead and do that right now, or you can look at your notes for a little bit and then take the quiz. I hope you had a great week. Talk to you soon. Come to my office hours, even just to say hello. It'd be great to see you.